Wel, prynhawn da bawb. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second session of Cyberstars. These sessions are especially for you, year 5 and 6 learners who have a talent for IT. And it's great to see you back again today for the second session. I'm Siwan and I work for e-sgol. I have the pleasure of having the company of a very important person today, who is Dan North from Technocamps. Shwd Dan, how are you?
Dim mor ffôl, diolch Siwan. I'm okay.
Da iawn, well done. Right then, I'm very good, thank you, Dan. I'm going to swap screens straight away and go in to the Kahoot to let everyone sign in either through the QR code or the website kahoot.it and enter the PIN 5494725. Don't worry if you are still joining whilst Dan and myself talk. You can join in at any time during the session. Now then, whilst everyone joins, and before we get started, a few things to note. The cameras, microphones and chat are off on your side for all of these sessions. This is an opportunity for you responsible and wise year 5 and 6 learners to listen carefully and have the opportunity to do tasks, answer questions as we go along, and of course, the quiz at the end. We'll be doing everything today through Kahoot. The session will be recorded, so if you miss any of it, you can always watch it back. Now then, people are still joining us, Dan.
Fabulous, fabulous.
We'll
Nice to
get
see you.
started in a minute. How has your day been so far, Dan?
Not too bad, thank you, Siwan. I've been getting on with a lot of work in the office, and we've just had a lovely fire alarm in Swansea University.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
Just now?
so just now. So we had 2 minutes to go on that timer, and all the alarms went off. So I've ran out to my car.
You rushed out
And
and you rushed back
rush.
in.
Yeah, well, I
Oh.
haven't been able to go back in because they're still going. So hopefully this is okay for you all.
Are you in your car now?
I am in my car.
Right then. Well, okay, well, it works fine. So we'll start then, Dan, when you're ready.
Marvelous. Okay, so welcome everyone to the second session. And if you're in last week's session, this is going to carry on very well from what we were talking about last week with passwords, because the topic for today's video is cryptography. And cryptography is a very important part of modern technology. It's what allows us to keep everyone secure on all their devices. We talked a lot about security last week. Well, what allows us to have passwords and allows these things to keep us safe is these ideas of cryptography that we're going to look at today. But before we quite get to cryptography, there's something else I want to talk about first, which is called steganography. An even more complicated word. And what is steganography then? Well, steganography comes from the Greek words steganos and graphene. Steganos meaning to keep something concealed or covered up, and graphene, which means writing, something visual. And so steganography is the very, very old practice, ancient practice of concealing messages or any other information within a non-secret message or piece of information. So we use this constantly to watermark our videos and pictures in the modern world. And we do still sometimes use it for hidden messages. But you can think of steganography as all the details that are included whenever you take a picture or a video with your phone. Because when you take a picture, that picture includes the date that you took that picture, where you were, the location that that picture was taken, what camera you used, i.e., what device you were using to take that picture, and loads of other information is all hidden inside of that photo. And you never see that information unless you actually unpack the data and you go looking for that hidden data within. But we do still use it for some secret messages, and steganography can be used with almost anything. We can hide messages inside of a piece of text. Take the following sentence. Since everyone can read, encoding text probably loses effectiveness and should end. Pretty boring, pessimistic sentence, that. So, not very happy sounding sentence. But there's actually a hidden message inside. And I'm not sure if anyone can spot it straight away. You have to know what you're looking for. But if we take every capital letter in this message, then suddenly it reads something very different. Secret, please. A hidden message inside of our non-hidden message. Just something buried just below the surface that is there for everyone to read if they can figure out where it is. Another use of steganography is inside pictures, like we just mentioned, but we can hide stuff inside of the pictures as well. Like if you take these 3 pictures of the numbers 3, 4, and 5, each in a different color, and we merge them together so that all those colors overlap each other, then we come out with this picture on the left, which, oh, maybe you can still read the number 4 in it if you've got some particularly good eyes and you get really good scores on your eye tests. But I think that 3 and 5 have properly been messed up inside of this image. And you can see how one side has started to turn pink. There's bits of white and cyan and yellow as all those colors start to mix together. And I definitely can tell you that that like sort of figure 8 looking thing used to be a 3 and a 5. So we can hide pictures in images. We can hide information inside of an image and get it back out again if we know what we're looking for. We can also hide data inside of sound. And this is actually a very common method of hiding it. And stuff a lot of bands actually do, actually. A lot of bands hide little messages like this so that people can find them when they listen to their music on a computer. Because the word Wikipedia, I'm sure everyone can read that word here, has actually been hidden within this sound that Suan will play. Quite a horrible sounding sound, and I don't think anyone heard the word Wikipedia being said inside of that sound. But if we have a closer look at that picture, we can see what's actually happening. Notice on the side of it, what's that going across the top now? It's a keyboard. So this is actually just all the different keys on a piano or a keyboard. And the order in which they were pressed has spelled out the word Wikipedia. That's all that hidden message is. So you'd never be able to listen to that sound and go, oh, I know what that says. That's Wikipedia. Because that's not how people's brains work. But when you put it on a screen and you look at the different sounds that have been made, then you can pull out the hidden message. So, steganography is great and is still used to hide information inside of messages to this day. But the problem, we will get back to that. We've got a quick quiz first.
Quick quiz, right? Is everyone ready? Before we move on, steganography is the practice of concealing messages or information within other non-secret messages or information. Oof, is that true or is that false? What do you think after what Dan said now at the start of this session? What is
Very, very long
steganography?
question.
Yeah.
Some very long words.
Right then. Oh, well done. It is true, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely. Okay, so it is just hiding something in plain sight. We haven't really covered up what we've hidden. We've just hidden the message inside of another message, which means that if you want to find that message, all you've got to do is know where to look. Now, obviously, that's the trick. Okay, if you don't know where to look, then you've got no idea what the message is. But if you're fairly clever and you've maybe used a lot of steganography before, it's not too hard to go, oh, okay, what ways can people hide things inside of messages? Okay, if we think of the text one, oh, I could hide it in the capital letters. I could hide it in the first letter of each word. I could hide it in the last letter of each word. I could hide it in a different place within each word, and maybe I just count as I go along. Maybe I hide the message in every 10th letter. So I hide it in letter number 10, number 20, number 30. Whatever the pattern is, my message is there in plain sight. And if you know where, you can read it. And that means it's not very safe. Now, cryptography is something completely different. Cryptography is, instead of hiding things in plain sight, it comes from the Greek words kryptos, which means a secret, and graphene, which means writing. So again, that graphene, but instead of meaning to conceal something, to hide it in something else, it means to keep it secret. Now, cryptography is used all of the time in our modern lives with every piece of technology we use, because it's how we keep our passwords safe. It's how we encrypt the messages that we send each other on WhatsApp and Snapchat, so that other people can't just, get your phone number and read all your messages. It doesn't work like that. They're kept secure on your phone. It's how we keep our bank accounts and our bank cards safe. We encrypt all of the secret information on there so that not anyone can just, make a copy of your bank card and start taking money out of your bank account. And of course, when we go shopping on websites, our login details and all of our information is all kept secret because it's been encrypted with cryptography. Okay, so that's what cryptography is, but how does it work? Well, it's different from steganography, because in cryptography, everyone knows you've made a secret message. You haven't hidden it. You haven't tucked it away inside of some picture where you've got to be smart and go and try and find it. It's right there. You can see it. It is obvious. But unless you know the secret key, you will never be able to work out what the message is, because you have concealed the message in a different way. You haven't hidden it away, but you have what we call encrypted it. And that means that you're changing all the letters. So there is a slight difference between a code and a cipher. Now, a secret code is encrypting entire words or phrases so that they have a secret meaning. Like, I could have kept today's meeting secret by telling Suan, oh, Suan, whenever we talk about today's meeting, okay, whenever we email anyone, we're only going to refer to it by the word secret sausages. With nothing else. I don't want any talk of e-sgol, any talk of techno camps, any talk of using Microsoft Teams or anything. We're not allowed to mention it. All we say is, oh, in secret sausages tomorrow. And then no one knows, because I've come up with a code word for this meeting. We did this in World War II, actually, when we, during D-Day, which I'm sure we've all done in school, when we went to Normandy, well, all of the French soldiers knew to look out for a secret code. And that code was Jean has a big moustache. And obviously the Germans had no idea what Jean has a big moustache meant, because it sounds ridiculous. But all of the French soldiers had been told, if you hear the code Jean has a big moustache, it means the British are coming. And so get ready to fight back, because the British are on their way to invade Normandy. And so that's what we did. We had a secret code, which is really great, but secret codes are like, they're really bulky, aren't they? You can't just use them for everything, because that means every message, every sentence that I ever want to hide, I've got to come up with a brand new secret code for it. Like, imagine having to do that with every text message you send. Every text message needs a completely different secret code to hide what that text message really is. It would be impossible. So that's where we come to ciphers. Now, ciphers are sort of like codes, but instead of hiding an entire word or sentence, well, we just change every single letter to something different. Now, as shown at the bottom of the screen, that could be coming up with brand new symbols for every letter. Have a look here. If the first one is a H, then the second one, the E, is a square. And we can check because there should also be an E at the end of that message for Luke. And there we go. There is another square at the end. So we now know that the letter E has turned into a square, and every other letter has its own secret symbol to hide that message. So that's one way we can do ciphers, is by coming up with secret, brand new symbols to use them for. But there's other ways to do ciphers, and one of them was invented by Julius Caesar over 2,000 years ago when he was Emperor of Rome. And Julius Caesar, as Emperor of Rome in the year 55 BC, well, Romans had reached Britain at that point. They had reached Wales, and the Romans were living in Wales with the Celtic people. And obviously, Julius Caesar needed to talk to his generals in the army. He needed to send them instructions, send them what they had to do on their missions. But Julius Caesar lived in Italy, in Rome. Now, I don't know about you, but 2,000 years ago, I don't think we had email and text messages. So it wasn't that easy for Julius Caesar to get hold of people in Britain. And so it would take months and months on horseback for someone to deliver a message from Rome all the way to, let's say, Swansea, where I am. It would take months on the back of a horse to deliver that message. And so he needed to keep that message safe. He needed to know that no one along the way was going to find that message and read it themselves, because then it wouldn't be a secret anymore. So he came up with the Caesar cipher. And what the Caesar cipher does is it changes the position of every letter in the alphabet by 3. So every letter is moved ahead 3 letters. So A becomes A, B, C, D. A becomes D. B becomes C, D, E. B becomes E. C becomes D, E, F. So every C becomes an F. So you just change every letter with the letter 3 letters ahead of it. And then to decrypt it, to get your secret message back out, you do the opposite. You count backwards 3 letters. So, for instance, we've got our plain text here, hello world, and the H has been moved ahead 3 letters. Let's count it. H, I, J, K. There we go. H has become a K. E has become an F, G, H. E became a H. L became a M, N, O. L became O. Every letter counted ahead 3 letters. And then, when I've got my secret Caesar cipher message, Kurzorg, well, to turn Kurzorg back into normal English, we just count backwards 3 letters. K becomes J, I, H. H becomes G, F, E. Doing the alphabet hard is really difficult. Doing the alphabet backwards is really hard, isn't it? Okay, so we either count forward 3 letters to turn it into a code, or backwards 3 letters to turn it out of a code. And I have a link here that everyone is able to use to see a Caesar cipher in action. Okay, so again, we move that 3 ahead for every letter to encrypt, to turn it into a code, and to turn it out of a code, to decrypt, we go backwards 3 letters. Now, there is a link for tc1.me/Caesar, and this gives you a Caesar cipher wheel. Now, Sue-Ann, are you able to bring up that wheel for me by any chance? By going to that link.
Yeah.
So I can show everyone how it works.
Bear with me.
No problem. I would do it myself, but I'm sat in the car.
That's fine. So tc1.me/Caesar.
Caesar. There we go. And this brings up a Scratch project for everyone. And on this Scratch project, this is a Technocamp Scratch project, and it is a Caesar cipher wheel, which is the more common way to look at this, because it just makes it a bit easier to imagine the entire alphabet as a wheel. So by clicking on the green flag in the middle, then Sue-Ann's able to run this project, and then you can see that it helps you out. Up in the top right, it says coded is the black and white letters, and the original, the normal message is the blue and green. So if Sue-Ann turns the wheel anti-clockwise, we can turn that to a key of 3, which is what the proper Caesar cipher is, okay? The entire thing we technically call a shift cipher. Caesar, for some reason, I guess Caesar just thought that number 3 was the best and he always used the number 3. So that's the Caesar cipher, but the entire thing is called a shift cipher. And so to turn it into a secret message, if I wanted to turn Dan into a secret message, I would turn a D into a G, I would turn an A into a D, and I would turn an N into a Q. So my secret name would be GDQ. And no one would know what he was talking about because it'd be 3 random letters. But then if anyone wanted to get my name back, they look at the inside of the wheel and they find the G and turn it to a D. They find the D, they turn it to an A, and they find the Q and turn it to an N. And they've gone from GDQ back to Dan. So that's how a Caesar cipher works. We choose our key. We can choose any key we want. And then we turn the letters to encrypt it, to turn it into a secret code. We go from the outside in, and to turn it from a secret code back into a normal message, we go from the inside out. And there we go. That's a Caesar cipher. Really cool type of cipher called a shift cipher that encrypts our messages and makes it so that they're there for everyone to see. They are hidden in plain sight. They're not tucked away like steganography, but they are, as we can see on this page, impossible to read. I could not tell you what any of these say off the top of my head. But by using that key of 3, then we can check on our Caesar cipher and go from the inside out and turn each one of these back into a normal letter. So do we want to give them a minute to try this, Sue-Ann, or come back to it afterwards?
I think we'll share it, Dan. I'll share it with the teachers.
Fantastic.
And then the pupils, you'll be able to spend some time on it then after the session, and maybe even send in your answers to me and we can share some of them next week.
That sounds fantastic, yeah.
Great.
So,
I think, have we got a quiz? Yes. We'll go to a quiz now, Dan. So, thinking back about what we've learned with Dan, cryptography is the practice and study of techniques for talking. Is that true or is that false? What do we think? Talking. Cryptography is the practice and study of techniques for talking. It's quite a hard question, actually. Right,
It's
we'll
tricky,
see
isn't it?
then. Yeah. It's false, isn't it, Dan?
It is false because when I'm talking like this, we can all understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking in some weird secret coded language, am I? Like, if I was talking like that, then you could say I was talking in cryptography because I'd be sounding like complete nonsense. But when I talk normally, this is just normal language. Cryptography is the practice of trying to hide the normal words that I'm saying by messing up the letters in some way. So we've seen the first way of doing that now with a shift cipher. But the other way to do it, or another way to do it, there's a lot more, but one way is called a transposition cipher, where instead of shifting the letters to the side, so every A becomes a B, every B becomes a C, something like that. Well, instead of doing that, we shift the letters around in different orders. So we move them around in a word so that that word doesn't look the same anymore. The word has been hidden because all its letters have moved around. And so a transposition cipher, the key isn't just a number like in a shift cipher. You can't just say it's got a key of 5 to move 5 forward. The key becomes whatever pattern we've used to break it up, however we have shifted these letters. So you can see an example on the bottom, which is called a rail fence cipher. And what we do is we write out our message in a zigzag. So this is a secret message. Okay, we've written it in a zigzag, and then we write down the message line by line. So we would write tatg hsemai year is 6. And it would look absolutely bonkers. It wouldn't look like a real message at all because we've moved the letters around by shifting their order. And so to decode it, you would just have to write your message back. Now, there's another way of doing that, which is even older than the Caesar cipher. Now, the Caesar cipher, as we know, was about 2,000 years old, a little bit over, from when Julius Caesar made it. But back in ancient Sparta, which was a little bit earlier than that again, I think about 500 years earlier, so 2,500 years ago, we found what the Spartans called a sitali. And so this is known as the Spartan sitali. And the sitali was just a wooden cylinder. And to make that wooden cylinder, you just cut down a bit of a tree. You go to a tree you like the look of, you'd be like, that's a nice looking branch, and you cut down the branch. And then you shave that branch and make 2 bits of wood that are identical. And this long, narrow piece of material, which 2,500 years ago, they didn't have paper yet, so they used to use leather. Well, they would wrap that leather around the sitali and write a message on it. So they'd write this message all the way along the sitali in lines. And then, after that message had been written, you would pull off that piece of material, pull off the paper, and suddenly your message isn't written out in a long line like this, is it? Because what's going to happen is it's not going to say Gustinha, Gustina, whatever that means. I don't speak Spartan. But it would instead read the KGB as it's written going down the material. So you've shifted every single letter on that material by changing the way it looks. And now you've got a really long piece of material that no one else can read because, again, it looks like nonsense. And so the Spartans used to use this for the exact same reason as Julius Caesar, to send their secret messages. And they could send this to the battlefield across all of ancient Greece. And then the general on the other end would have the identical sitali, the one that had been cut down from the tree at the start. And he would be able to wrap the message along his sitali and read what it said. And so this is a very cool ancient way of sending messages. Now, the cool fact with this is that it's called the Spartan sitali because that's where we first found one about 100 years ago, in Sparta, in Greece. But since then, we've actually found them in the Egyptian pyramids, meaning that the sitalis have been used for over 5,000 years to keep human messages secret. So we have been doing cryptography for a very long time. It's always been important for people to keep secrets. And so there is also a website you can go to test out this sitali. And again, nice easy link for you. It is tc1.me/sitali. And if you go to that website, it's again another Scratch program for you. I can't take credit for this one. This one was made by a Spanish university, but I did translate it, so I will take credit for that. But this Scratch project allows you to test out a sitali on Scratch by changing how thick that piece of wood is, because as the bit of wood gets thicker, well, you can wrap the paper around it less, right? The thinner it is, the more times you can wrap the paper around. So you can change the diameter of the wood and type in your secret message and have a look at how it appears. And so that's another cool website for you to use. Now, these are the two things we've looked at today. We've looked at steganography, hiding our messages in, hiding our messages. They're hidden. We can't see them. They are hidden somewhere inside something else. But the problem with just hiding something is that if you can find it, well, there it is. It's written. It's normal. It's easy. As soon as you find it, it's no longer a secret message. So cryptography flips that on its head and is like, well, you know what? We're not going to hide the message. We're just going to leave it in plain sight. But we're going to make it impossible to read unless you know exactly how it was encrypted. And that is what modern technology is built on. Now, obviously, I think we can all guess that Caesar ciphers and sitalis, being that I've just explained them to you, aren't actually safe anymore. People know how they work, and so your text messages are not encrypted with a Caesar cipher, or they wouldn't be very safe at all. But these two main ideas of shifting letters back and forth or mixing them up in different orders is what your encryption on every device you have, every website you go to, that's what the cryptography is based on. These ancient ideas of how to hide messages. Okay, I think we've got another quiz for you guys.
Oh, great, Dan. Right, this is the final quiz. Is everyone ready? Let's go. 5 questions to finish up. Right then, steganography is creating a photo of a stegosaurus, hiding a message inside another message, changing every letter to create a cipher, a boy named Stefan who creates graphic work. Now then, you've got 30 seconds to answer these questions, so a little longer because I know there's a lot to read and to take in. Now then, a lot of answers coming in. Let's see. Oh, 89 of you. Well done.
Fantastic.
Steganography is hiding a message inside another message. Good start. Right then. On to the next question. Oh, there's more than one answer, okay? Which ones are examples of steganography? Image, smell, taste, sound. Now then, think back to the start of the session. What did Dan say? And the picture might be a clue. So there's more than one answer. Let's see. Right then. Oh, well done.
Fantastic.
Image and sound. Smell and taste might be a little hard.
Yeah, I think if anyone listening can hide secret messages inside the smells they make, Sue-Ann, they are very talented.
Right, well done, Shining Rooster. Let's go on then. Who devised a method of encryption which is called the Caesar cipher? The question and the picture might be a little clue. Betsy Cadwallader, Dan North, Julius Caesar, or Bronwen Lewis? Well, the answers are coming in very quick. I don't think you need 30 seconds. Well done. But is it right, though? Let's have a look. Oh, well done.
Fantastic.
Julius Caesar, yes. Oh, Agile was going up one. Well done. Right. Another multi-select question. Cryptography is sending messages securely. What are the two main groups? Substitution, subtraction, transposition, or addition. Oh, a lot of ions there. Oof. What are the two main groups of cryptography? That's quite a hard one, isn't it, Dan?
That is a difficult one because I didn't use one of the words. I called it something else.
Okay. Well,
well, but fantastic, everyone.
You did well then if Dan didn't use
done.
one of the words. Trick question there.
That's people reading the slides, keeping their eyes nice and wide.
Well done. Brilliant. Oh, joyful octopus on top. Right then, last question. To encrypt on the Caesar wheel, we read from side to side, from the inside out, in a circle, or from the outside in. This is quite a hard question as well, isn't it? To encrypt.
Very difficult. You didn't get a chance to practice this either, so how well were you listening?
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Let's have a look then. Oh, well done to the 22 of you. From the outside in is the correct answer, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, so remember to change it into a secret code. We look for the letter on the outside and change it to the one on the inside. And to do the opposite, to turn it back into a normal messages, we find the letter on the inside and we turn it back to the one on the outside.
Well done. Right then, let's have a look at the top three at the podium. Soaring Panther in third, Magic Boa in second, and in first place today, Joyful Octopus. Well done, everyone, if you were in the top three. And that's it. Another session done. Thank you very much, Dan, for another great session. And thank you to everyone for joining us. We hope you all enjoyed. We'll see you next week. Diolch yn fawr. Ta-da!